Ladies and gentlemen, the central and state governments across India have a critical agenda, two critical agendas, in fact. One is of sustainably increasing income of farmers, and the second one is with regard to the economic empowerment of women. It is in this context that we have this Livelihood Summit today, where we'll be addressing these necessary initiatives, culling out best practices uh, in the context of interventions across India at the state level and also those sponsored and supported at the central level. So we'll be targeting basically the focus being on successful models again, on cooperative led initiatives, cooperation through farmer producer companies and through other forms of cooperative networks. In fact, India, as we are aware, has more than 9 crore women mobilized into SHGs, which is the largest SHG network in the world. And many of these are now progressing to be producer organizations as an income generation and a sustainable livelihood initiative from mere financial inclusion, largely financial inclusion focused interventions. Similarly, we have 14 crore farmers, and already maybe more than a crore farmers are networked into FPCs. Uh, Also led by Neil Kamalji's pioneering initiatives several years ago under the 10,000 FPO program. Since then, also, we have been focusing on developing tools and techniques for ensuring that we get outcomes rather than stick to mere outputs. Outcomes meaning not just various tools and techniques to promote FPOs, right from registration to modus operandi of various initiatives to develop an FPO, that kind of thing, but also in terms of ensuring that these interventions actually lead to sustainable income increases amongst farmers. Now, in fact, Team GT has been working with more than 1.5 million farmers, more than 500,000 of them being women farmers across India. So we happen to be very humbly the largest player in the ecosystem, in the Indian ecosystem. And in this context, our learnings, our successes and failure models, which are failures, have helped us evolve models, which we also brought out in the form of a pioneering volume with Neil Kamalji, Rakeshji, and me and Kunalji from Grant Thornton. So what we are planning, we are hoping is that our pioneering volume, today we'll also be releasing it, the volume released by Professor Ramesh Chand. We hope that this volume, which will also be available in Hindi version very soon, will also be able to capacity build the farmers as well as the women farmers and others in the ecosystem. And what we find is, based on our interventions across the country, over 20 states in the cooperative or the FPO mode, is that we have found that capacity building is the most important thing that is the need of the hour. Direct benefit transfers, MSPs to increase farmer incomes, these are only what we feel very humbly are largely unsustainable interventions, as any economist would say. So we are looking at means by which we can teach farmers and potential women entrepreneurs how to fish, rather than giving them fish every other year, which is a huge burden on the taxpayer and could also stymie the potential growth of the Indian economy. Now we have 5 major themes today in the summit also, following the book release, which will be freely available to all. The 5 major themes include one on best practices in terms of the overall best practices involved in the intervention in the field. This will include best practices in terms of, say, 15 major interventions that GT typically undertakes in the form of such networks, with networks, right from procurement to crop advisory to common facility to direct market connect to custom hiring facilities, including drones, a range of interventions, all backed by Credit Connect. Similarly, we'll also be the next theme in continuation to the broad contextual setting best practices theme would be on the enabling policy environment. So many states you'd find would not even have an input policy for procurement by POs, without mentioning names. Many states do not have an MSP policy. We'd also have MSP leaders today presenting for FPOs. But some other states are very aggressive in terms of an MSP policy for facilitating FPOs to be conduits in the procurement programs of the state government or central government. Similarly, we also have asset mapping and transfer of assets by the district collector and by the state government to producer organization in many states, which is proving to be a boon to producer organization to operate godowns, to operate retail outlets, etc., and common facilities. The third significant session would be on sustainable revenue generating options. Many FPOs, we still refer to them as infant FPOs. Infant matlab 4 saal ho gaya, 5 saal ho gaya, but still at the teething stage with revenues of maybe 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs. How do we take them to a few crores worth of revenue? How do we ensure that they sustainably serve as platforms for dissemination of a range of services to the rural sector and to contribute to rural livelihoods in a sustainable fashion? Is what we'll be discussing out in terms of best practice again. The fourth session would be on SHGs to FPOs. POs largely, it could be including the non-farm sector. The focus being more on the farm sector today would be largely because of the fact that, between 80 to 90 or even more percentage of the rural economy is dependent on the farm sector rather than on the artisan sector. So SHGs to POs also, in fact, Team GT has already contributed towards almost 150,000 SHGs being evolved into POs and supported by related POs, which we'll be focusing on the models. And we find very great results in terms of the pace of implementation, in terms of governance issues in this model, where we have women SHGs progressing into viable and sustainable income generating producer organizations. The fifth session would be on partnerships and convergence. Now, GT's experience has seen that the critical part of any intervention in this context would be viable business plans. So there are about 10 types of business plans that are required to promote any cooperative or a cooperative network in terms of producer organization. Like I mentioned, right from input to customer hiring services, to common facilities, to market connect, to seed production, nurseries, storage facilities, credit to avoid distress sale, credit to complement aggregation, marketing, and input procurement, a range of initiatives. So how do we prepare these business plans? And to implement these business plans, we need a range of partnerships with the private sector. In fact, GT alone, we partner with maybe about 50 to 100 institutions, private sector business development services, to ensure effective implementation of business plans. Unless we have both this connect, it is our humble impression and experience that we would not get success in the field. Business plans and the necessary partnerships to implement the plans. The third major focus within this theme alone also would be on convergence. Again, in most of our programs, at least about 30 schemes of the state and central governments are converged with the FPOs. So this is something which is very critical. So we don't need an 80 lakh or 1 crore budget to promote FPOs, as in the case of World Bank, ADB, other organizations also. It could be significantly, partly, slightly, or even significantly lesser if the convergence can be facilitated by the field level professionals working on FPO promotion. So thank you all for your time and contribution. We have some of the best experts in the field, foundations, CEO heads, CEOs of foundations, government leaders from across the country. Thank you all. Hope we will be bringing out a good knowledge document and a policy document, which will be beneficial and help us contribute towards developing a vibrant and inclusive Bharat. Thank you.